Good morning. I'm David Kroll, your Government Affairs Director for Seattle King County Realtors. Today, we're providing a candidate interview training to new volunteers as well as a refresher to those who have interviewed candidates in the past. Our goal is not to lecture, but rather to show how candidate interviews are conducted and how candidates are evaluated. Seeing is better than describing. Typically, our candidate interviews, our live interviews, run 30 minutes per candidate, and we use 10 interview questions. For the sake of training today, we're only using five interview questions, and 5 minutes will be allotted to each candidate. Eddie?
Thank you all for joining us today on this interview. We have two candidates before us, Sam Paz and Randy Racer. And in front of you have your schedule for the interview. We have 30 minutes before our first candidate interview, so let's review the candidate interview questionnaire and allocate the questions among our interview team. Here are the interview questions. Number one, what are your top two priorities and why? Number two, what do you think about allowing ADUs, townhomes, duplexes, and triplexes? Question three, please share your understanding of the law of supply and demand as it relates to keeping the price of housing affordable to working families, including what measures you would support to make housing more affordable. Number four, do you think taxation in your city is too high, too low, or about right? And number five, please tell us your campaign fundraising and what endorsements have you received? I'll get the ball rolling and I'll take question one. Donnie, will you take question two?
Yes.
Yusuf, could you take question three?
Yes.
Bev, will you take question four?
Yes.
And Garrett, can you take question five?
Yes.
Thank you. Does the interview panel have any questions regarding our positions relating to the interview questionnaire?
What are ADUs?
An ADU is an accessory dwelling unit, like a mother-in-law apartment. It helps expand housing availability, typically at an affordable price. And ADUs can help the homeowner stay in place because the rent from the ADU can go towards paying a mortgage.
Oh, that's right. Sounds like a good housing option and a win-win.
Typically, our interview questionnaire has 10 questions. Each candidate interview question is worth a maximum score of 10 points, and all 10 candidate questions is worth a maximum score of 100. 10 points is the highest score available for each question. So think of 10 as being an excellent answer, 9 as just short of excellent, 8 as a very good, 7 as good, 6 points as average, and under 6 points as below average or poor. For a candidate to be eligible for endorsement and RPAC funding support, the candidate must receive at least an average score from the interview panel of 80 points. We don't endorse candidates who score below 80 points. For the sake of this training, we're only asking 5 questions, so we'll assume that each question carries a maximum score of 20 points, with 100 points total as the highest score possible. Please know that actual and real candidate interviews run 30 minutes and we use 10 questions. Does the interview panel understand our candidate scoring system and eligibility for endorsement?
Yes.
Yes.
Our candidate ratings, endorsements, and Realtor RPAC funding support recommendations will go to the full Government Affairs Committee for review and approval. To receive formal approval, the committee must vote by a supermajority to approve our recommendations. Should the committee not arrive at a supermajority vote to approve, but arrives at a majority vote to approve, then the recommendation goes to our board of directors for approval. It's time for our first candidate interview. David, could you please bring in our first candidate, Sam Paz?
Be happy to, Eddie. And for our audience, we will enable the Q&A at the end of the interview. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A. Sam, thank you for your time today.
Morning.
Good morning, Sam. Let's first have a round of introductions, please.
Hi, my name is Eddie Chang, and I'm the VP of Government Affairs for Seattle King County Realtors.
Hey, Eddie.
Hi, I'm Donnie Melgrini with RE/MAX Integrity, and I'm an RPAC trustee.
Hi, Donnie.
I'm Beverly Reed. I'm an RPAC trustee, and I'm with Windermere Real Estate North Lake.
Hi, Beverly.
Hi, morning, Sam. I'm Yusuf Nadir. I'm an agent with Remax Northwest in the Seattle area, and I'm a board member on the Seattle King County Realtors.
Morning.
Morning.
Hi, Sam. I'm Garrett Nelson with Executive Real Estate, and I'm the Vice President-elect of the Governmental Affairs Committee for Seattle King County Realtors.
And I'm David Kroll. I serve as the Government Affairs Director for Seattle King County Realtors. Sam, we have 5 minutes to complete your endorsement interview. We have provided you with a desk copy of the questions, and each question will be read out loud by our interview panel. Time management is important to ensure that you can complete your interview and so that you can receive credit for answering all of the questions. The members here today are members of our Government Affairs Committee and the Realtors Political Action Committee. The interview panel will make its recommendation to our full Government Affairs Committee on June 21. So right after that meeting, I'll send you a letter with the results of your interview. You also have 2 documents. First, as a way to say thank you for your time today, we are inviting you to submit a candidate statement and photo for our Realtor Voting Guide that is distributed to over 15,000 real estate brokers in King County. You also have a form with the requested information for our voting guide. And please note that the deadline to submit your information to me is June 5. Second, you have a copy of the Realtor PAC Statement of Values and Principles. I know you verbally agreed your compliance with me. So with that, let's begin.
Hey, Sam, thank you for joining us. I've got question number 1. What are your top 2 priorities and why?
Well, my first priority is to get elected. I mean, nobody can do anything if they're not an elected official, you know, in control of making the decisions. My second priority is to do something about the homeless situation. They're everywhere. It's not good for the city and it's not good for them. And also climate change. To move to an economy that's free of fossil fuels within 2 years, I think every public parking lot, every business, every home, every condo, every apartment in Washington should be required to have a charging station for electrical vehicles. We ought to get ready for that.
Thank you, Sam. I'd like to ask you the second question. What do you think about ADUs, townhomes, duplexes, or triplexes?
I don't know about that. I'd have to think about that. It'd be lots of renters and cars in my neighborhood. The neighbors might not like, you know, they might not like it, might vote against me. And I have a responsibility to take a long-term view of what's best. But we definitely need more housing, so maybe we could put the ADUs in the industrial areas. We could talk about that. But I will be a fierce advocate for the federal government to provide housing for homeless folks in undeveloped areas. You know, there's a lot more vacant land available in dispersed parts of the region, and lower land costs mean more affordability. That's just basic economics.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, for your answer. My next question is, please share your understanding of the law of supply and demand as it relates to keeping the price of housing affordable to working families, including what measures you would support to make housing more affordable.
Well, you know, we probably need more housing, but where are you going to put it? I mean, every place you turn around, they're building houses. Our city has already taken its growth. We've done our part. People who work in our city should have a right of first refusal to purchase or rent any housing that comes on the market before anybody else is allowed to buy it or to rent it. That way, with jobs and housing in balance, our supply will equal demand as it should. In the meantime, Seattle and Amazon caused this problem, including all the homelessness. This should be the responsibility of Seattle City Hall, not the voters that live in our city. And Amazon should have to pay whatever it takes to fix it. And also the federal government. I mean, Congress has just approved trillions of dollars, but they don't even know where they're going to spend it. They should just give it to us. I can figure out where to spend it, especially since the first cases of COVID were right here in King County.
Thank you, Sam.
Sam, thank you. My next question is, do you think taxation in your city is too high, too low, or about right?
Oh, I think everybody knows Washington's tax structure is the worst in the country. Taxes are definitely too low, especially for rich business owners and people all flush with cash, having just sold their house for over $1 million. They all have a responsibility and capacity to pay more. It's a matter of fairness.
Thank you.
I have the next question for you, Sam. Please tell us about your campaign and fundraising and what endorsements you have received.
I'm very excited. Thanks. That's a great question. I'm very excited about the campaign. I love to debate about anything, so I'm having a lot of fun. I apologize if you hear some pounding in the background. I've got some contractors at the house here today. But I love to debate about anything, so I'm having a lot of fun. I'm going to run a real grassroots campaign. I have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people. And I don't think it's bragging to say people really like me, because they do. I mean, I'm on the library board. I have over 100 people in my Christmas card list, and a lot of them are right here in Washington. I'm going to put out some really nice yard signs. They'll be purple, gold, red, and gray, so that I can get both the Husky and the Coug votes. I already have the design done. So you ask about the finance. In terms of finance, you don't have to do all that PDC paperwork if you keep your campaign under $5,000. The PDC calls that mini reporting. So that's what I'm going to do, because I really don't like details or paperwork. I've already raised $600. I put in the first 500 myself. And then when I raise another 150, I'll have the 750 I need for my yard signs. I'm going to participate in all the candidate debates to get my message out there. In addition, I'm a member of Rotary, and I serve on the library board. I think I just said that, but I serve on the library board. And years ago, I was on the city's swimming pool advisory committee because I coached youth swimming for one summer. So I have a lot of friends. Before COVID hit, I also had coffee every week at Denny's restaurant with my retired friends. We all kind of like to get out of the house. And they promised they would tell people why everybody should vote for me. So it'll be a real genuine grassroots effort. And I think a couple of them might even write me a little check. So like I said, my grassroots campaign's really taken off. I have a lot of other really exciting ideas too. And I want to invite all of you to come to a meeting I plan to have once I'm elected, so that I can inform you about all my ideas. Because I own a house, and I think everybody should. So I'm hoping you'll be my first endorsement, and also support my campaign financially, so I can order my campaign signs, which I think you're really going to like.
All right, Sam, that concludes our half an hour. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, David. Could you please bring in our next candidate, Randy Racer?
You bet, Eddie. Randy, thank you for your time today. Let's begin with a round of introductions, please.
Hi, my name is Eddie Chang with Realogic Sotheby's International Realty, and I'm the VP of Government Affairs for Seattle King County Realtors.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi, I'm Donnie Malgarini Logar with Remax Integrity, and I'm an RPAC trustee.
Good to meet you, Donnie.
Thank you, Randy.
Hi, Randy. I'm Beverly Reed. I'm an RPAC trustee, and I'm with Windermere Real Estate North Lake.
Hello, Beverly.
Hi, morning, Randy. I'm Yusef Nadir. I'm an agent with Remax Northwest in the Seattle area, and a board of director member on our Seattle King County Realtors Association.
Nice to meet you, Yusef.
Hi, Randy. I'm Garrett Nelson with Executive Real Estate, and I'm the 2021 Vice President-elect of the Governmental Affairs Committee.
Morning, Garrett.
Morning.
Randy, I'm David Kroll. I serve as the Government Affairs Director for Seattle King County Realtors. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, David.
Randy, we have 5 minutes to complete your endorsement interview. We've provided you with a desk copy of the questions, and each question will be read out loud by our interview panel. Time management is important to ensure that we can complete your interview and so that you can receive credit for answering all of the questions. The members here today are members of our Government Affairs Committee and the Realtors Political Action Committee. The interview panel will make its recommendation to our full Government Affairs Committee on June 21. So right after that meeting, I'll send you a letter with the results of your interview. You also have 2 documents. First, as a way to say thank you for your time today, we are inviting you to submit a candidate statement and photo for a realtor voting guide that is distributed to over 15,000 real estate brokers in King County. You have the form with the requested information. Please note that the deadline to submit your information to me is June 5. Second, you have a copy of the Realtor PAC Statement of Values and Principles. I know that you verbally agreed your compliance with me. So with that, let's begin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy, for joining us. I have question number 1. What are your top 2 priorities and why?
Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate that question. Before I answer, I do want to thank you for the opportunity to interview with you. I have a lot of respect for the Association for Realtors, and I also appreciate, I know you're all volunteers, and I appreciate you taking the time to hear about me and my campaign. Well, so my 2 top priorities, I want to preserve my city's high quality of life. And I want to do it through focused and thoughtful city governance. I also want to ensure that our young people have economic opportunities, jobs, and home ownership opportunities moving forward. My city has been a great place to live, work, raise a family. It has a very high quality of life, and it has that because its city leaders had a strong vision about the future. And they balanced it with a commitment to deliver basic services like public safety, well-maintained roads and bridges, responsive permitting, and inviting parks and open spaces. So my view is we need to stay focused on key challenges like lack of affordable housing to median income workers, transportation, economic development, and public safety.
Thank you, Randy. I've got the next question. What do you think about allowing ADUs, townhomes, duplexes, and triplexes?
Thanks, Donnie. I'm a big fan of these options. Our city faces a tremendous need for housing. ADUs, townhomes, duplexes, and triplexes offer pathways to increase housing options without a dramatic change to the look and feel of our existing neighborhoods. These housing options are affordable. For homeowners it's an easy way for homeowners to add units to their property and establish a stream of rental income. That adds to their financial security and the stability of the neighborhood. And then of course the units that are for rent often are more affordable than what you might find in a traditional apartment building.
Thank you.
Hi, Randy. The next question is related to the law of supply and demand. And please share your understanding of the law of supply and demand as it relates to keeping the price of housing affordable to working families, including what measures you would support to make housing more affordable.
Great question. Thanks, Yusuf. Well, demand for housing has clearly outstripped supply of housing. Our region has not allowed the market to build the number of housing units needed to respond to the strong job and population growth we've enjoyed over the past 20 years. This supply-demand imbalance has pushed home prices above the reach of many families, particularly middle-class families. So my view is we need to review our zoning citywide to identify where we can plan more housing units. And this includes identifying where we can site increased multifamily units, condos and townhouses, as well as the ADUs, townhomes, duplexes, and triplexes that we just discussed in the single family zone.
Thank you, Randy. I have question number 4. Do you think taxation in your city is too high, too low, or about right?
Well, Beth, thank you. What I would say about taxation is that I view any tax measure as something where a place where you need to tread very, very carefully. I want to ensure that our existing revenues are being spent as efficiently as possible. I'm very hesitant to further erode sellers' equity through an increase in the real estate excise tax. I'm hesitant to chill job growth through things like head taxes or increasing our B&O tax. And I'm hesitant to force people on fixed income out of our city through increased property taxes.
Thank you.
I've got your next question, Randy. Please tell us about your campaign and fundraising and what endorsements you have received.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Garrett. Well, I have a campaign manager and campaign consultant. I also have a core group of campaign volunteers that help me with fundraising and voter contact. Now, due to COVID, while it looks like we're starting to turn the corner on COVID, we're still doing Zoom-based meetings like we are today, Zoom coffee hours and fundraisers. Because I have a strong base of older voters, I'm putting particular emphasis on engaging and earning the support of younger voters. My doorbell plan, as you might imagine, is subject to COVID protocols. So I don't expect that I'm going to be able to do too much doorbelling in the primary, but I certainly will into the general election as vaccination rates increase. I've got a total budget of $200,000 for the primary and the general. This is going to enable about 4 citywide mailings in a pretty robust social media and electronic voter contact program. I entered the race 4 weeks ago and have been fundraising with a lot of energy. I've raised $50,000 to date. Now, while I have yet to receive organizational endorsements, I'm in the process of vying for those endorsements from you, the Seattle King County Realtors, as well as the Master Builders Association, AGC, and the Chamber. I have endorsements from many elected officials, 4 current council members, the mayor, and 3 former mayors. In addition, I have endorsements from our state delegation and our county council member. I'd really value your endorsement and support. I'm a big believer in the Seattle King County Realtors. You do good work, and I would be honored to have your endorsement. I thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Randy, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to meet everybody. Goodbye.
Randy.
Bye.
All right, we've finished the interviews with both panels. How do you guys feel about Sam Pace and his responses?
Well, I was just really worried about Sam's lack of understanding on the housing issues that we have. I think he's probably a very nice person, but not understanding the ADUs and such kind of bothered me.
Yeah, I think he doesn't have a good grasp of the issues really facing the community and housing policy in the area. I mean, when his idea was like, oh, let's just build more homeless housing out where there's cheap land. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. I don't think he quite gets how this is, you know, how new construction and building new home inventory works.
And
I also was,
Oh.
Go ahead, Joseph.
No, I appreciate it, Donnie. Thanks. I was just going to say, also, he's overly confident and doesn't really have a true campaign process or a goal thought out. So of interesting how he's approaching taking this position.
I also heard him talk about right of first refusal and placing ADUs in industrial areas. That's just not workable.
No.
Donnie, you had some comments?
Well, I was just concerned about his tax, that we need to tax the rich people and we need to tax people that are making money on their houses and stuff like that. That's counter. I just didn't really think that was where we should be going.
Yeah.
And I think he had an unrealistic view on doing the climate change within 2 years of having all of the charging stations every place.
Good point.
Sounded like you wanted a point of sale mandate on charging stations, which is just insane. All right, what did you guys think of Randy and his responses?
I think Randy
Randy's-
would be great to work with. I think he's got a lot of good ideas, but he's very level-headed, and it's important to find a way for everybody to work together.
Yusef? Were you saying something?
Kind of coincide with what Donnie was saying. I feel like he has a much better understanding, willing to kind of be balanced and listen to both sides. And he showed some purpose, you know, having as far as him running for the campaign and actually promoting himself and raising funds. So he's taking it very serious.
And I would add to that he had respect for our organization and what we do, and not only what we do in advocacy, but also with us personally as being volunteers.
I like how, in contrast to Sam, who wanted to tax everybody, he wanted to find how to increase the efficiency of the money that they do get now before talking about new taxes. It's kind of like in a household where we trim our budget first. We don't just say, I just want to go make more money. It doesn't quite work that way. All right, the final question relates to electability. What are your thoughts about each candidate's electability? Who do you think has the edge in the election?
Well, I feel like Randy's just very much more prepared and has an actual campaign and program behind him that will help him win. And I don't think Sam's I don't think Sam's attitude will help him win, and he just doesn't seem prepared and like he has the mechanisms to actually win.
I agree. I think Randy's much more prepared for the job.
Yes.
All right. Now that we've both had the time for discussion, can the interview panel please score the candidates and turn their questionnaires with scores to David?
Thank you all for your candidate evaluations. Here are the results from the interview panel. Randy Racer received an average score of 92, and Sam Paz received an average score of 73.
A candidate score of 80 or above can be recommended for endorsement with or without RPAC funding. Candidates scoring under 80 are not recommended for endorsement, and the scores published in our voter guide. We don't publish scores under 60, so we simply publish under 60. Based upon the candidate scores that would the panel like to recommend, you may recommend endorsement with or without funding, and you may recommend just publishing candidate ratings.
I move that we endorse Randy Racer with maximum RPAC funding.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion?
Yes. What is the maximum amount for RPAC funding?
Yusef, in this jurisdiction, it's $1,000 for the primary election and $1,000 for the general election.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's move on the motion to endorse Randy Racer with maximum RPAC funding. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? All abstaining? The motion is approved. Thank you, guys, thank you everybody for coming and joining us. Please keep the information from this panel confidential until it has been approved by the GAC. Thank you all for your time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes our mock interview. David, would you lead us? What's up next?
If we are having any questions from the audience, we will address the questions.
All right, does anybody have any questions? You can submit it through the Q&A. I don't know if the chat's up and running.
Well, I've gotten a couple of comments that people thought Sam was quite entertaining.
And some of them are quite entertaining when we interview them.
Well, Russ has a question. A maximum funding mean for the primary, general, or both? David?
Eddie, it's $1,000 for the primary and an additional $1,000 for the general.
Generally, when we have a motion for maximum funding, it means that we are giving permission to do whatever is the maximum. So if they have a primary, then it's for the primary and general. If they only have a general, then it is just for the general. So it's kind of more of a blanket approval.
David, can I mention one quick item about that? And this is Sam Pace, not Sam Paz, that's talking now. They only have a primary, and the 1,000 is only a possibility if there are at least 3 candidates that file. Unlike in legislative races, in these local races, if there aren't 3 candidates that filed, there is no primary, there is nobody on the ballot, and there is no opportunity to give them money. They go directly to the general election, and that's the only election that the state law allows folks to contribute to, because there is no primary.
Sam, Randy, you both were amazing. Thank you so much for taking on those roles.
Yes.
All right. I don't see any more questions. Should we let people go for lunch, David?
Yes. Oh, what happens if the evaluation numbers are really close? Thank you, Russell. Eddie, do you want to address that?
Sure. If the scores are above 80, both scores are above 80, then we have a lively conversation about what we do. We have the option of endorsing or not endorsing or just publishing numbers. And it's really up to the interview panel.
And Rob, the interviews will begin after our housing issues briefing on June 4th, which will be on Zoom from noon to 1:30. I'll keep you posted. And members who have been approved or appointed rather to the committee will get email invitations to participate in the candidate interviews. Rob asked, what is our total budget for primaries and generals? We do not have a budget. We are limited by our local RPAC account. The last time I checked that our local RPAC account has nearly, I believe, $200,000.
I don't think we've ever run into a position where we have exhausted our local account, have we?
No, thank goodness. And let's have a call out for Realtor PAC participation and investments. That's what drives, that's what gives us the ability to help fund Realtor endorsed candidates.
Especially all the major investors that are on this call are really appreciative of that.
And Donnie and I would be happy to take your investment dollars. You can text us or call us and we can go into further detail on that.
I see no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, since looks like we have no more questions, we will adjourn this training, and thank you everybody for joining us.
Well, thank you for putting it
Yeah.
together, everybody.
All right.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Thank you all. The meeting is adjourned.